You know that one Tyler creator bar? Next line will have him like, whoa, I've been under the assumption that if my character was in the game, it would magically transform the title into something that I enjoy despite it being, at its core, a game I don't like. I might be misremembering the specifics. Venom's out, and if I'm being completely honest, I don't have a lot of thoughts. I was expecting to, but while I think the character is pretty cool in theory, there wasn't a lot of chemistry in practice. I played him for the first 3 days when the character came out for about 5 hours, and then just put the game down. I don't even have it installed on my hard drive anymore because I didn't play it for like a week. A lot of what I'd consider problems though come down half to the game that he's in and half to the character that he's forced to be. Being critical of the core at this point would be beating a dead horse. Strive is the game that it is and it's never changing, even if the movement is so sluggish that it makes the S&P 500's growth look like a rocket. So those fundamentals of the systems, now that I do have one of my favorite characters back, would hold back my dream character even if they were perfect. Venom's design is extremely cool, even if a little bit underwhelming. And so I think that even though my overall impression is negative of my experience, Strive Venom I give a pretty big thumbs up. The idea that the balls now have a concept of drag, making smaller attacks not only slower, but also options to get the ball around the screen, is awesome. I didn't find many spots to use it myself, which I'm gonna add up to a skill issue. Even still, I like the idea that they found a chance to evolve on the billiard concept. The idea that you can keep one ball on screen and ping pong it around the opponent, that's cinema. That's Kino. It does seem a little bit hard to get this aspect of his kit going though, and you don't seem to be rewarded much for using balls outside of Oki situations. This to me seems more like a problem of balance over design. The fact that a ball that's set in motion and the ones that aren't completely disappear from the field once Venom takes a hit makes these balls incredibly hard to find a use case for in neutral. Since they don't hit extended hurt boxes, a ball that's out and active is unlikely to trade, meaning that even with a ball on screen that's active, you can't rely on it to cover you and mitigate risk. This makes ball set substantially worse than it was in previous games, even before we start talking about removed functionality. Now the thing is, I'm disappointed with the lack of functionality as a long-time social outcast, but unless you've played Xrd, the fact that he doesn't have a teleport, or my goat, in the game doesn't actually affect you. That said, I think the fact that ball set, from my experience, is a very lengthy risk that's unlikely to reward without a setup, diminishes the most interesting aspect of the character. Not by literally removing functionality from the perspective of one game to the next, but by not allowing the character more opportunity to highlight their unique mechanic. Without a ball on the screen, Venom just becomes Steve from down the pub. Go on lad, show him your toopy then, wee. If it was up to me, which it shouldn't be, I would change the way that ball works so that if it's in motion currently, it still doesn't trade with extended hurt boxes, but is persistent if the Venom is hit, with the idea that the ball can cover you and force a scramble as you're now both placed in a trade situation, which might even make for some really interesting interactions where the ball hit actually helps the opponent by cancelling their animation. The problem that I have with balls and ball set at the moment isn't that Venom sucks. I don't know if Venom is considered arse. I only watched Leffen's stream for like 30 minutes to steal tech. The problem is that a very interesting quality of the character's design is being pushed down by risk reward. This might not be the case at higher levels, but at lower levels it leads to a lot of full screen stinger battles, and quite frankly this is one of the most boring scenarios I've ever put myself through. This stings a lot when Venom in Xrd at full screen is very fucking interesting, because ball set and ball formations create a lot of variety and choice. This is a scenario in which both players are able to flex a point of preference. And while maybe not showing off the character creatively, the way that they use the space shows their creativity as a player. This is what Xrd Venom is full of, and all of the little extra elements that are gone get rid of layers of choice. The two notable omissions to me being the teleport and the air ball sets. These are two aspects of the kit that make moving the character incredibly interesting, especially where and how and if you decide to ball set in the air. Strive Venom feels a bit like everyone else when it comes to movement. So even if he's supposed to be about flexing between zoning and set play, you still feel a huge gulf between those two modes of play. Thankfully, I think that over time that set play aspect of the character is going to get much more interesting, and maybe even parts of the zoning. The fact that a ball can be cancelled off of like it's a character hit, while right now not feeling like it provides a lot, might in the future make for some interesting left-right scenarios as you air dash cancel off of the ball that you just hit. This again could be extremely interesting in neutral if balls had a bit more presence on the screen. Ultimately though, even with the interesting ideas within the ball properties, Venom has unfortunately failed to bring back my interest for Strive, and to an extent not even because of the game that he's in. One really interesting aspect of the kit doesn't make up for a character that just doesn't feel intuitive and flexible like Xrd Venom. It's hard to go forward in time and feel like so much has been stripped away from the character. At the core the idea is there, but he's missing all of the bells and whistles that someone might consider distracting extras. But those distracting extras are part of what makes the character interesting. And I'm not talking about extras like Robokai. How do all of you people give a shit? He just feels like a stripped back character, which I don't mind if the idea is to emphasize more of the core aspects of his kit, but in that he comes across as plain. And in my admittedly limited time playing, every Venom player felt the exact same. I understand that peeling back characters in Strive to be particularly focused is kind of this game's thing, and so maybe this is more of a Strive critique more than anything, but it feels like they've taken a freeform character that in that freedom glues together some of the standout attributes, and focused so hard on the standout attributes that they forgot about the glue that keeps the character together in the first place. It makes for interesting ideas on paper, that's all a bit boring in practice.